we are, Johnny. Another episode, man.
Happy Wednesday.
Exciting times. And summer's right around the corner, guys. You know that. It's already summer for me, man. But you know what? The official summer is just
that always confuses me. Like some people say, oh, Memorial Day is the official start to summer, but it's not really the official first day of summer. I get so confused.
Hey, if the pools are open and the beaches are wide open, it's summer to me, man.
And we are indeed open.
You got that right. Well, we have a special guest today, man. Good friend of mine from ASA. He's part of the family. He's always at Staffing World. Jason from Belflex. What's up, buddy?
Ooh. Thanks, Richard. Thanks, John. Great to be here, and looking forward to the session today.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for being on.
You know what's amazing? He watches our shows, and now he's on here, man. An instant celebrity overnight, right?
For those
always
watching
wanted to be in the Shark Tank.
Hey, for those, very good. For those watching us now, that could be you. Just saying.
That. Remember that. Reach out to us. And you know what? I don't even say Shark Tank. It's the Job Tank, man. That's my office's name. But we're going to deep dive into it right off the bat here. We're going to waste any time today because I know a lot of people's got good things going on today. You know, it's the busy time of the year with staffing. Jason, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your company, my man.
Yeah, so I've grown up in the industry. My father worked in the industry for a long time, so don't really know anything better. Like most people, I didn't go to school to study staffing or get a master's in staffing or anything of that nature. Happened to network and met some great people who I still consider mentors to this day. Todd Cross and Bob Bear, both with Belcan, Belflex, and we're a commercial staffing company. We're based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Been in business for about 60 years, family owned, but we're aggressive. We're growing. We're in about 11 different states, a little over 30 offices, and I've got to do a lot of things in the 8 years that I've worked with the company, from not only sales and business development, recruiting, but also being a part of acquisitions and some really fun stuff. So
you still there, Jason?
I'm sorry.
Okay, I thought his voice went out for a second there, man. We weren't trying to ghost you either, man. I swear.
So Cincinnati, you guys just built a new soccer stadium, didn't you? Real
cool stadium they have up there. The FC Cincinnati, I believe, is what it is. So yep. A lot of fun.
I got to ask you, Jason, are you a Bengals fan?
I am. I sit in Raleigh, North Carolina now, and I do root for the Panthers, but I've never left that bandwagon.
Did you hear I like the way you said that, Jason. You said, I am. Almost like that. Yeah, I am. And I get that because I was born and raised in the D.C. suburbs and have been a fan of what is now known as the Washington football team. So right. I spent 20 years saying, yeah, I am.
Famous words of a Cincinnati sports fan is always next year. So
well, all I can say is you guys have some great chili. The Skyline chili.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Good stuff.
My favorite.
Awesome.
A mouth's watering over here.
That's good stuff. So Jason, you've spent a lot of time. You've got a lot of experience in business development, and you've helped grow markets all across the country. So to Richard's, what he always says is, I'm just going to dive in and ask. Over the past year, a lot changed with how we did business development. Now that things are opening up a little bit, how do you see it evolving now in 2021 when we're not necessarily in lockdown anymore?
I think, like most places, we've really had to embrace the learning curve of technology and, a lot of this video platform based. And as a company, we were kind of positioned and ahead of that curve a little bit, but I think it's going to be the continued norm. But I take a quote from some past people in the industry is that our industry was built on relationships, and I think that's always going to stay true. And whether it's talking through a computer screen, hitting a virtual kiosk in somebody's lobby, or doing it through email or in person, there's always going to be that relationship element to it. So
I know Richard loves hearing that. He's all about the relationships.
Totally, 100%. What do you think, Jason, since the pandemic? I mean, I think after building right now, we're building everything, and it's becoming more of a culture fit now. I mean, I think the human connection is over and over and over again. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think that whether we're doing things remote or virtual or whether you're doing things in person, I don't think the fundamentals of what we do change. How we do it, we have to adapt with the changing times over the years. So the methods and the tools we use might change, but the fundamental principles, I don't think they change at all.
It all stays true to the same. So,
and with business development in 2021, like that's our topic today, emails. What do you see on the email side? Me and John, we discuss this all the time. Emails only go so far. This day and age, you got to have that human connection, that human touch. What are you seeing on your side, Jay?
Really from our side, and even how we're trying to educate our business development folks. Our COO, Bob Bear, he is very well versed, and his background is in sales. And, even from his seat, he's getting sold to a lot, and just kind of utilizing our information and what makes, all these contacts of all these different reps hitting us up for business, what makes something stand out, and really just trying to find that unique way. Everybody's talking about trying to personalize, and tailor messages, but we're not trying to take that shotgun approach. We're trying to be very targeted, trying to be very personalized, and really trying to go after the business that's going to allow us to scale the growth that our ownership family wants to see back. There's good business and there's bad business.
You're right.
I love that you said you personalize it, because I think now more than ever the era or the tactic of mass emailing and just having a generic thing telling everybody how great my product is or how great my company is and what it can do for you without understanding who you're sending it to, that may have worked long ago, but nowadays more than ever, it's got to be a personal reach where you've got to demonstrate some knowledge of who you're going after and want to engage with them to learn before you present something that you think will be a solution. Agree, disagree?
Absolutely agree 100%. And, on top of that, I think that the decision makers or the folks that we're dealing with every day, whether it's a plant manager or that frontline supervisor, they really don't know anything else outside of their four walls, and they're looking to us in the industry. Just, I need help. I need a person in here, period. And they don't care about the rhyme or the reason. They just need help, period, because they're feeling that pressure as well. So I think just
exactly right.
Putting yourself in their shoes and understanding the bigger picture with it, and realizing that we're all human beings, and a lot of people just want to help, and they need help right now. So.
You summed it up right, Jason. We have to listen first. Don't even say anything about our solution. Ask them, what can we help you with? And I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of people in business development don't do. They just say, we can find workers, we can get them up monster career builder. Well, anybody can. How do you make that fit? Tell us what's wrong. Why are you calling us? And then go to the next level. And something I'm going to say real quick before John jumps in is, you're going to love this, Jason. I go in, I have little protein packets. I'm like, you know what? Let me add a little extra protein to your workforce. You want to muscle it up? Icebreaker right off the bat. They're like, you're going to have protein in my workforce?
Richard, I love you.
I knew I was going to say it again. I love it. The little protein packets. Jason, I'll bring you a couple at Staffing World, man. A couple protein packets, man.
Please do. Please do.
That's awesome.
I think simple things like that is that part of that human connection. You can't fake it. You got to be yourself. And in this day and age, I think for me, I call it the Revive Workforce Discount. The first worker, I give you a discount. Let's break in together. Give you the first couple weeks. Let's get a discount on that. See how I do, and let's make a family then. And build. And I think that's what we need to do.
Well, being your authentic self. I agree with that wholeheartedly. That's what people are going to want to work with. You don't want to be someone you're not. So I love the things that you do, Richard, and you always share with us, because, if I were to do something like that, it probably wouldn't come out as authentic, because it's not, but you could do that and get away with it and be endeared for it. So that's what I love about different folks in our industry, is there's no one way to do it, and you adapt it to your personality, and you figure out what works. And I love that.
Totally agree. What do you think, Jason? You man a lot of people in the area. What is your rep seeing out there today? What's the struggles, I want to say, and then what's the challenges? That's something we want to talk about big time.
Same thing as anybody else. If we could take this show on the road, virtually from the car. You drive up and down anywhere, just a 5-mile radius from your brick and mortar office. Everybody has a now hiring sign in their front window and their front lobby, and everybody is looking for people right now. So it's prime picking, I think, on the sales side. Like if you're not able to sign contracts right now, I think we've got a bigger problem. For us, it comes down to, looking at the data behind it for our recruiters. All of us have been behind the desk that there's those clients that actually absolutely like drown the office, that you're constantly having to bend over backwards to service, and you just can't grow and be successful. It burns our staff out. So really trying to tie in communications with our sales folks in the field, tying that in with our operations folks, and working unanimously. At Belflex, on our side, we call it succeeding together. And that's really how we succeed together, is we need salespeople bringing in fillable opportunities, and we've got to be working to make sure we can fill those as well. So
I am so glad you said that, because even in this market, and you're right, it's a feeding frenzy right now. If you can't get job orders, there's something wrong. But the question becomes, do you just write anything and then bring it back? Or do you stay disciplined and position yourself for optimal success? Because you can get job orders, whether or not they make sense for your team to work on and spend their time on. That's what you need to really, is it something that's staying in your area of expertise? Do you have the network to deliver the personnel? Or are you being enticed by, wow, well, we don't really do that, but they'll give me the job order and maybe we can fill it and maybe it'll be a good spread or a good fee. That's tempting, but more than not, it's going to get you into more trouble than it's worth.
Right.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people in industry just wants to get orders after orders. And John, we know this, and Jason does too, that at the end of the day, I want to evaluate that at night and say, you know what, let me come back with you. Let's get the signed contract. Let me know if I can give you 100%. Because if I can only give you 50%, why burn a bridge? Broken promises in our industry, it happens a lot. We run across it all the time. How many times have you went to a company and they're like, I had 5 staffing firms and nobody ever called me back or put anybody there in 5 weeks? I mean, so that's where I love to step in. I know John, and I'm sure you guys do too, Jason. It's about that promise. We gotta fulfill it. And if we can't come up with anything in 3 weeks, we got to tell them, hey, it's time for you to maybe look somewhere else.
And it's an opportunity when you have a situation like you just described, Richard, where I used to love going in. They said, oh, yeah, we've got all these firms and they're at a reduced rate or a reduced margin. And the question was, well, then why are you meeting with me? Well, they haven't delivered. Well, maybe there's a reason they haven't delivered. So, they call it business development for a reason, because you have an opportunity to nurture and develop that relationship and be more of a consultant to figure out, all right, if these 5 other firms haven't given you any talent that's worthy, maybe we should look inside and lift the hood up and figure out, maybe it's not them, maybe it's something going on your side that we can help fine tune. What's your experience with situations like that, Jason?
I think I was told that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over again and expecting different results. I would professionally and respectfully tell that prospect or client, why am I going to repeat the failures of the past of my predecessors? Let's figure out the root cause. And pay rate is always the big driver, but what we have found is there's other ways you can lay some bridge work to help fill those gaps, and really trying to be partners to get to the finish line. And even flipping the script out of the traditional temp to hire model, try it before you buy it. There's different ways to even penetrate from a direct hire standpoint, and kind of scaling those fees over. I mean, there's lots of different ways to skin that cat, but at the end of the day, our product is a human being, and that's how we're judged, and that's how we make money. So
totally agree on it. And that temp word, John's going to know what I'm going to say. I hate that word. Yep. It's contract, because when you say temp, and workers are going to quit on you. Contract, the whole goal is to get them a full-time job and then to bring referrals in for you. You want them to leave you. I mean, I hate to say it, we're not going to be billing for it, but that's okay, because they're going to bring you 10 more people in if you did a good job. And that's my theory on the whole thing. The more people I can get direct hire, the spin over it is.
I try to steal that out of your playbook, full transparency, and try to actually say, hey, team members, look at what the staffing shark is doing up there. You don't spend anything, and job board cost. Everybody that we talk to in the ASA at any of those conferences, number one pain point is, well, I'm spending all this extra money on job board costs, recruiting expenses, marketing my jobs, and when we look at our P&L statements, on a monthly basis, it's up. What are we getting out of it? And I think to your point is that your best the best experience that you can give these people is to make them feel so empowered that they go out in the community and tell other people, because that's worth its weight in gold. It's straight out of the horse's mouth, and word travels fast in that demographic.
Totally
Got that
right. It's all about connecting. That's the whole thing, is when you connect an audience, the rest is history, and treat them well. They're part of my family, and John will say this: workforce family, the key words, you don't want to, client or candidate, you're all my family. And I think the biggest thing in sales that we're talking about today is that we have to treat the HR and decision makers like they're part of us. We're not stealing their job. I keep saying that, and I see so many salespeople that don't like that rejection. Well, this candidate's not good, or this is not what I want. That's why we're a family. Let's work together. And if we have to drop a couple F-bombs to get it done, that means we're doing good, right? We're building a relationship with each other, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to.
We hope.
That's the word fun, right, Richard?
Yeah, the fun word. Yeah.
Fun word. Yeah, that's it. I thought that's what you meant. This family show. It's interesting when you mention HR. HR shouldn't look at us as competition. And the better relationships, at least in my opinion, are when you partner with them and you don't necessarily work on the same jobs with them. You say, all right, you're working on these. It doesn't make sense for me to be recruiting for the same job, because then I am competing. Then you do want to beat me. So give me the stuff that you're really struggling with. You stay with what you got and let me help you with these. And that way you complement. But I think so many times we end up getting into agreements where we're recruiting for it, but their internal HR is recruiting for it also. And that's where sometimes you get the batting of heads and you get the bad feelings. Not intentionally, but you can't blame them. If both of you are working on it, they want to fill it, because to them, it's like, well, that's my job.
You're right. And if the job order isn't what you think it is, tell them. I change job orders all the time and say, you know what? I'm on the streets all the time. This is not going to be a good fit. You're never going to find anybody with this, And I think a lot of companies, they don't know this. They put this big 4-page paragraph out of all this stuff. Nobody's going to read all that. It's too much. Let's make it simple for people. And I think that's on the job boards, Jason, real quick. You might want to elaborate this. Job boards, I'm not going to say a word about it. Don't use them. Don't need them. But, but at the end of the day, I think too many people rely on job boards for everything.
Yeah. I think it's a fallacy of a human being. Like, we're always going to take the path of less resistance. I've got an open order. I need people. Let me engage a job posting of who's looking for work, instead of, going back to the basics of recruiting and
yes,
getting back to that human element of it. So
I always preach, and I've got a class going through right now of new hires, and, everybody's like, oh, well, give me access to this job board and this job board. And, I've got LinkedIn and this, that, and the other. I'm like, hey, they're all great. But at the end of the day, your own network is your best source of recruiting. You should, every time a job comes in, if you're a recruiter, you should say, oh, I've got someone in my network who can do that. Or I've got someone in my network who knows someone who can do that. But that's like, people see that as, oh, but that's work. I just want to go and click and find a resume. Mm-hmm. That to me is not recruiting.
Yep. Yeah. Posting and praying doesn't work all the time.
No, thank you.
It's not going to get you a touchdown. No,
Richard, I'm gonna steal your quote. Job boards, don't have them, don't need them.
Yes.
we unfortunately, I will say, we have them. But our biggest source of candidates continues to be our referral network. So that's what you want to strive for. To your point, Jason, let your employees be your best marketing tool.
And I'm a firm believer, Jason, you probably agree on this, is when you hire somebody, I'm a big on videos and pictures. I get a picture with them. You see that all the time. Handshake with them, with me in it, so they know this is the person who hired me. It's teamwork. Yep. Everything's teamwork. And guess what? They post it on all their sites. So if I put 50 people to work, I got 50 recruiters out there. Does that make sense? Who needs a job board when you got 50 recruiters?
Makes perfect sense to me. It is not rocket science.
No. Or if they go to another company and they're like, hey, we need workers. The company I work for, they need 10 workers. They're actually giving me leads and they're helping me with my candidates too. It's like a win-win. Yep. And I've been doing that for 2 years to 3 years now. And it's amazing. Just simple things like that.
And Jason, I don't know if you've heard the past couple of weeks on our show, but Richard's found a whole new avenue for business development. Weddings. That's
right. And I'm not a wedding singer either, or a DJ, but I was at a wedding 2 weeks ago.
Job orders. Go figure.
Got a job order at a wedding. Was at a country club. They needed cooks and some wait staff. And they were talking. I was like, man, I said, we're short staff. I'm like, well, this is what I do. So over a cocktail at 8 o'clock at night, I'm getting a contract.
It's that simple. It is that simple in our industry, you know.
So when you go to a wedding, and then I'm looking around, it's like, okay, where's the candidates at? Anybody? I want to get on the microphone before the bridal dance and says, let me get a job. Meet me in the back. I'll get you a free drink and a job.
Everybody's gonna be like, what's that line at the table back there? Oh, that's Richard. He's interviewing. Oh, okay.
But you know what? At the end of the day, we both all agree that you have to have fun with this, man. I'm having freaking a blast. And you know what? I don't have a stressful day because I'm like, there's a solution to everything, you know?
Well, you have to have fun. And you also, to your point, and you're living proof of it, you can never not be looking for opportunity. Everyone you meet is a potential client, candidate, or both. So you have to engage in that what do you do and who are you type of conversation. If you don't, then you're probably not in the right line of work.
You're right. And you got to be personal. I mean, it's, we all have our logos and all, but the logo doesn't sell anything. At the end of the day, if you go into a client, you're like, hey, my revolver's on my hip. It's my phone. Blow it up anytime you want, and that's what they want. They want that personal touch where they don't talk to Jason and then 2 weeks later they're talking to John and then they're talking to somebody else. They want one point of contact for everything.
Yeah, same thing that we would want if we're buying something or we bought something, So I think putting yourself in those shoes as well.
Great point.
We've all been on calls for I don't want to say it but for cell phones. And how long do you wait for somebody to get on the phone? It's like forever. And it's the same thing with staffing.
It is. And you look at what we talked about earlier about being personalized. Jason, you mentioned you're personalizing your sales approach, if you will, your development approach. How often now do we see folks on LinkedIn? And LinkedIn has become a great tool in our industry. It really has. And people have grown businesses just through LinkedIn. However, there are some people that will reach out, ask to connect, and then the first message they send you is this long sales pitch, and they don't even know you. That just continues to baffle me that people still do that, and they expect that somebody's going to respond. I don't know. I don't get it.
I just got 4 this morning, guys, 4 of them. It's like, hey, how you doing? I see we can generate leads for you. I'm like, please don't say that because I'll have to school you on that.
and do you reply back to them? Do you delete them, or
I totally reply back to them.
So you give them some constructive feedback.
Yeah, because that's in my DNA. I'm part of what I do as a trainer, and I'll go back and I'll ask them. Like someone will pitch something to me, and I'll be like, "Tell me how much you know about my company," and they'll be befuddled. And I'll be like, okay, in the future, research the company. You'd realize that what you're pitching does not fit my company, nor does it fit me. Yeah, I'll give them total feedback. And most of them are pretty cool about it. They're like, okay, thanks. Sorry to bother you. I'm like, it's no bother. Just I'm trying to help you for the future. And, it's kind of like one of my favorite movies. I'm dating myself, but I don't know many salespeople or recruiters that hasn't seen Boiler Room. Okay, way back in the day. And when Giovanni Verbisi is sitting at his table in the morning having breakfast, and the guy calls from the Village Voice to sell him a subscription, and he says, "No, I get the Times." And the guy's like, "Okay," and he's like, "Wait a minute, that's your pitch?" And he starts to educate him on a sales pitch. I love that scene.
Great scene.
Yeah, it's like
awesome,
so.
Danny.
Part of that is like a giving back. I'm going to tell people what I think. I'm not going to waste their time. It's just like when a robocall randomly gets through to me, and they start pitching. I'll be like, not interested. And I can hear them going to, okay, if they say this, and they go to their script. And I say, look, I'm not a buyer. You can talk to me and I'll stay on the phone with you for 20 minutes if you want, or you can hang up and move on to the next name on your sheet. And I'll just call it what it is. And most of them are like, okay, thank you, bye. And I'm like, all right, I'm not going to waste your time. You're not going to waste mine.
I wonder how they note that call.
That's a good question.
Hey, Jason, real quick here. What do you see like during the pandemic? You guys are probably trying to sell and consult, during Zoom calls and everything. How effective was that for you guys?
To be determined, I would say. I think we really focused on, again, serviceable business and telling, taking more of that consultative approach to have some of those tough conversations to say, it's not lack of work or lack of effort. It's here's the facts and here's where you compare in the market, and just letting them know that we can't be successful under those conditions. So I think that's been one side of it, but really just it's been hard to reach people. Most people are out of the office or they're away from the office. Their titles have changed or there's been within the company. So that's, I'd say, would be the biggest challenge, is realizing that it takes a lot more touch points or more engagements to try to actually, have a constructive conversation with somebody. And I would say the wins that we did get during that time is it came out, it was, hey, you've been very persistent. You've always been very professional. I need some help now. Let's talk. And that's kind of how they boiled up that way. So I think persistence, consistency has really rang true for us.
Love that.
Exactly.
And I love the fact that you did that in a time where you probably knew you weren't going to get any business, but you didn't want to lose the connection. And so many folks in our business just, okay, if I can't make $1 here, I'm not going after it now. And they only go when it services them. So when you go that extra mile and you keep making those calls, knowing that you're probably not going to get any dividends right now, the reward is just what you mentioned, is when the time comes around, they go to people who took the time to reach out to them when they didn't have any needs. So kudos to you guys.
Good point.
Exactly.
Adding on to that too, John and Richard, I think what we found in some of our more like competitive markets is a lot of these decision makers, like, they'll change companies like maybe I changed my socks. So they'll bounce from this company over to here. And if I've, maybe they couldn't use me over here because of some corporate regulation or something. They go to this new company, and if they're like, well, that, those people over at Belflex, that they were very, very professional. They're engaged. Like, if I can stay front of mind, more than likely they're going to be the one that they reach out to and call us on. So just something else that I think to keep in mind too is just maybe a no today doesn't always mean no for forever, for tomorrow. Keep those relationships open.
I love no's, because you know what no's means? I got to work harder, right? I didn't do my shark magic. It's like, you say no, I'm like, really? Shut me down?
So I have a quick question for both of you, because you guys operate in a space that I'm not as familiar with, and that manufacturing, light industrial, et cetera. Are you seeing a change? The big argument has been nobody wants to go back to work. They're, the unemployment benefits are still keeping them home, and, there's plenty of help wanted signs, but no one, people aren't applying. What are you guys seeing from a candidate base? Is that starting to change? Are we getting more of a flow of people wanting to go back to work?
Go ahead, Jason. You take the floor first, buddy.
What I've seen is, so from my seat, I cover a couple states, and then of course I have peers that cover other states. North Carolina, not to single us out, but I think we've been a little bit behind the curve of opening things up compared to some other states. And I'll use like Ohio, where we're headquartered at. I know they've lifted the federal additional money that's being handed out, and that's, I think, as more people are getting needles in their arms, more people. I mean, you go out any place on the weekends now, and everything is packed. It's crowded. The highways are even more crowded. It seems people are vacationing. They're getting out and about. So I think the more of the psychological piece that people are out and about, the more people are vaccinated, and just the more that this kind of evolves and we get closer to that September date, I don't think that they're going to have a choice, that they have to get back out there and look. But it seems kind of it's very fluid right now. Last week was very strong, and then this week we not as strong. So it's kind of up and down, some waves, I guess. But here in North Carolina, it's been a little bit tougher, I would say, compared to some of our other states.
Gotcha. All right, you ready for me now? Okay.
Yeah, man.
So all I can say is struggles equal strategy, and what do you do? So here's what I do. Pretty much, I had no trouble at all, and I'm still not, because I guess what I can say, Jason and John, is I don't do now hiring. I hate saying that word. It's get hired, part of my family. If you see anything I post out there, it's connecting, and we got 4 factories, and they're almost every job order is filled already. It's because of connecting. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have to deal with now. We have to change. We have to connect with them. I mean, so many people are just putting job postings out there, and this is for another subject, but you just can't put a job posting out there and hope it goes. I mean, if you see me, I put March Madness out there. I put Hiring Madness. We have to connect to my population. And John knows who I'm going to say, Gary V. If anybody knows Gary Vanderchuck, he's the man that I listen to all the time. And all he says, you connect your audience, they'll come.
Yep.
One after another. So it's that simple things of St. Patty's Day and different things like that. Every holiday coming up, next week's Father's Day, tap into that market with the fathers. Mother's Day, tap into that market too. I think that's where you hit your pockets at, that you can build this big workforce pipeline.
Well said.
And it's
Yep.
different. You know what? And not everybody's the same. And you know what? And I help everybody. I right out there. Any staffing firm need me to jump in there and help them, I'll post some crazy stuff because all the content is still up in my head, man. It's like Steve Jobs. I never stop thinking, you know.
You don't.
I got ready for my content at 3:00 on LinkedIn. Get ready for it. Check it out.
I don't think Richard ever sleeps.
I was going to ask, like, I've never seen him tired or sleepy.
Never
like
sleep. And you know what? And
always at 150%.
150% all the time because you know what? Life's too short, man. I'll sleep when I die, right?
And it's contagious, you know, like just 30 seconds around you and you're like, it gets me fired up.
Well, wait the staffing world when I get everybody fired up. Hopefully I get a chance to speak a little bit more up there, man. But no, I think everybody was complaining and you see me on ASA Central and stuff like that. There's no reason to complain, you know, challenges equal change. There's another one I can, adapt equals achieve. You know, these simple things I'm using, you think of them and you're like, wow, I have to change. Right? We all change our hair. We change everything else. Why don't we change the approach, how we go into a business and try to get the deal and the clients? Because what we did 5 years ago or 2 years ago is obsolete. The basic core values are there, but we have a different generation now. These kids, I want to say, I come out of school, they're not on Facebook a lot. They're not on Indeed or Monster. Who's teaching them that stuff? That's for like, you know what I mean? And that's where I think we're falling in that gap now where the younger generation is not getting on Indeed like we were 10 years ago. What do you think, John?
I think we're primed for another disruptor within the next couple of years. I don't know what it's going to be, but how these sites evolve, they're saying, Indeed is going to launch its own staffing arm. That's been a big buzz within the last 6 months in our industry. And maybe that's their disruptor. Maybe they're going to start taking things into their own backyard and own control. What's going to happen? Things, to your point, Richard, the industry evolves. The fundamentals never change, but how you do it has to adapt to the changing climate. So, when the job boards came out, everybody said, oh, recruiters are going to be obsolete. Hasn't happened. Won't ever happen, in my opinion. But you have to learn to figure out, all right, well, how can I incorporate that into my strategy? Or how should I incorporate that into my strategy? And then you make it work for you. I don't think you react to it, but I think you just decide where does it incorporate into our strategy and the mission that we're trying to accomplish as a company.
Exactly right. And one thing that I'm going to throw out there, Jason, I don't know if you ever see me say this, but like box toppers on delivery. Last year when everybody was delivering stuff, Staffing Shark was on every pizza box, every Chinese food, everything like that. I'm getting candidates and clients on that. That's delivery. When everybody was sitting at home, they were getting a Staffing Shark thing. They probably were tossing somewhere, but they were calling me, or parades or anything like that. Big volume crowds. We don't have to have our own events. We can just go to an event that's already there and just tap into it. County fairs coming up and stuff like that. If they're going to bring 50 to 100,000 people in a week, why not be there too, right? They're doing all the work for you. All you do is show up and be yourself. It makes sense.
At the core of it, I mean, that's one of the things that I think I really respect about you is your grassroots approach to recruiting. And,
Thanks.
at the core for us, it's just common sense, whether it was the wanted ads in the newspaper or going out to stuff in the community or what is now a job board. Like it's where the people are at. You're going to where the people are at. And if they're not going to your job board, they're not coming into your office, you got to go out into the community and find them. And I think adding to that, again, to what you said earlier is that you're just one person. And although you don't sleep and you're full of energy, now you've created 50 other people like you out in the community that are tentacling out that same experience. And I mean, you can outwork any of your competition in that aspect. And it's just simple, common sense, basic recruiting 101, in my opinion.
It is.
Well, what I love about the approach is, and this gets back to something that we said earlier, is you can't be afraid to try something new. If it fails, so what? So you don't do it again. But you've got to try new things and you've got to try new angles to try and be different from your competition. And you can't be afraid of failure because that's the only way you learn. You see what works and what doesn't work.
Exactly right. And the biggest thing is what you'll see on my video on LinkedIn later today. Excitement's the first thing I tell everybody. You got to be excited with the client and the candidate. When I'm on the phone or I'm in person, they're giving me a fist pump at the end. They're like, what the hell is this guy about? But like you said, it's magnetic force. Positive magnetic force will get you the deal. I'm telling you.
Totally agree. What you
They
put
don't
out there
want
is
people
going
to
to
go
come
in and
back.
say, wow, well, that staffing firm sucked. And yeah, I'll try to help. Nobody wants to hear the crisis. Let's throw some new life their way, And that's with the people in your office too.
If somebody called me and was like, not excited about a candidate that they had, like, why would I, want to bring them onto my company? Or if you're calling to offer me a job and you're not excited about it, like, I'm not going to get excited. So I think,
well said.
Your emotion is shown through the phone or through the screen. And I think, again, whether, even if you're not in person, you can still have that nonverbal communication going on, get them excited as well.
And I think it's important, circling back to business development, because this just popped in. It's important when, there's some people that work a full desk. So they're doing business development and they're doing candidate recruitment. There's others that are split desk. So you've got folks doing business development and recruiters back at the office that fill the jobs. Well, in either situation, you're going to be sharing what you're working on with your team. And as a business development person, you've got to have passion about it. And it's got to be more than just, here's a job order, my client needs XYZ.
Right.
You got to sell me the dream. What's special about your client? Why should they get my candidates? What are the benefits to people working there? Show me your knowledge about that organization and really be an extension of that organization. Yeah. That's where that energy and that commitment, that's where you're going to get my participation. If you don't have that, it's kind of like you were saying, Jason, if all you have is a job order, that doesn't excite me.
Not at all.
Very good point.
And when you go in, it's fact finding. When you meet with a client, before we wrap things up here, after they tell you everything, say, you know what, I got a couple ideas. I'm like, how about I throw this out at you? See if you like it. And they're like, holy cow, we can do this. And your competition's doing 410s. Why don't we switch to 410s? If you have a possibility and a chance down the road, they always like to hear from their competition what's going on, right?
Great point.
So I'm getting insider information. I'm like on the stock market. But no, insider information like that, they love. They're like, wow, you're helping me out. So when I go to the big board meeting, I can present this, and then you're going to get the contract, but you're also going to get credibility and rely. They're going to love you at the end because they're going to say, wow, he's helping me out. He's just not trying to sell me a candidate, because I hate that when they just say, we have a lot of bodies. These are not bodies, my friends. These are our family, man.
Yeah, great distinction. You're providing a solution to help their business. You're not just commoditizing what you do, and there's a big difference.
There is. I'll tell you what, man, anything, Johnny, to wrap things up here, man. I mean, we've already been on for a while now. Anything on the business development side you want to just give out there? Shoot.
The only thing that I'll say, first, I want to give a shout out to Ashwin. Thanks for joining. He was in the comments. He's watching us on YouTube Live. Appreciate it. Jason, it's been awesome having you on here and getting your perspective. And, what this said to me today was, at the fundamental basis of business development, nothing ever changes, but how we do it and being focused on cultivating those relationships, learning about the other party, and customizing our communications and solutions. That's really what it's all about.
Totally.
Very well said.
Jason, any final thoughts there, man? And then also tell everybody where they can reach you at, man, on LinkedIn and all your social media platforms.
Yeah, you can reach us on LinkedIn. Bellflex.com is our website there, but it's hard to top John's closing words. I think it just comes down to the key elements of remembering what makes you buy, and remembering that these people need help, and just providing a person isn't always the solution. Like, they need somebody that's going to stick on that job and excel within their company as well. Otherwise, you're just going back to redo the work, and often doing that for free in most cases. So just staying consistent, staying persistent, and trying to present solutions out there.
Awesome. Well, hey, Jason, I got to say, man, hey, thanks for coming on, my man. This has been so
thanks for having me.
I can't wait to staffing world. You're going, right?
To be determined. I hope so, but we shall see. I'll be there maybe.
Man. We'll have
spirit if I'm not physically
at our table when we do a live show there, man. You'll have to pop.
That's right. That's right.
Look forward to it.
Definitely a great organization. Jason's a true trooper. So check him out on ASA Central. He's on all the sites, man. Good family member. Like I always say, man, you're part of my family for life.
Back at you. I appreciate it.
As we wrap things out, I think the biggest thing is, though, you got to listen and communicate. You know what? And embrace your clients. Just embrace them with some love. And you know what? And give them a solution. You can say something that they might not disagree on, I might agree on, but at the end of the day, you're going to connect at the end. Mm-hmm. That's all I have to say, man. Final thoughts for me, man. Hey, everybody out there, have a happy Father's Day on, I believe it's Sunday, right? Father's Day, right?
It is.
Yeah. So happy Father's to everybody out there. Next week, we have an exciting guest. Like always, I'm not going to tell you till Monday, but this guy coming in next week, wow. That's all I have to say. He's dynamite. I might have to slick my hair back for him because he's scours and profiles. That's all I'm going to say till next week. But remember, same time, same place, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Till then, take care, guys.
Take care. Thanks for listening, everybody.